Hello, and thank you for joining me today in a new episode of Ancestral Healing with Lida. Today is a special episode because I'm going to talk to you about a book that I love. It's The Knight in Rusty Armor by Robert Fisher. The first time that I read this book was 2021, and I felt so connected to the story, and then I always recommend to some of my clients to read it because I think that somehow in our lives we create shields, we create an armor to pretend to be something or to be tough, to have this shield that doesn't allow either our emotions to come out or either to emotions from other people to affect us for different reasons, from different traumatic experiences that we had as little kids or an intergenerational trauma. So I'm going to tell you the story. This is a knight, and he had a beautiful armor. So everyone in the village will know him because he was so brave, so strong. He will save so many people, and everyone in the village will say that every time that they will see his armor, they will see the sunlight projected on the armor of the knight. So he was very proud about that. He had a wife, Juliet, and he had a son, Christopher. Um, the knight, before I start telling you the story, so I'm going to tell you some of the story and then I'm going to tell you what I think. The knight didn't know who he was. He didn't know who he was because there was a point in his life where he couldn't take off his armor, and that's the beginning, the core of the story. He just lived to be a knight and to save people and to build his reputation. But there was a point that even his wife told him, like, hey, you're not take it's been days since you took off your armor and change your clothes, or not even to go to sleep, to bed. So he will say, like, I always need to be ready to save someone, I always need to be ready to protect someone. So he always was going into crusades to save people, and he will leave the house, and Juliet and Christopher will stay at home. And Juliet will be a person, a wife that she will just accept most of the time and say, like, okay, you are leaving, okay, I'm gonna stay in the house cooking, and when you come back, like, I'll be waiting for you. So Christopher one day told his dad, I don't remember your face anymore. I don't remember your face. I cannot recall your face. And he said the same to Juliet, to the mother. And that's when the knight said, like, my own son cannot remember my face? How long am I been wearing this armor? In fact, occasionally Christopher would ask his mother what his father looked like. Juliet would lead the boy to the fireplace and point above it to a portrait of the knight. There is your father. And she would do that because, again, the knight didn't want to, at that point, he didn't want to take off his armor. Christopher usually will say, I wish I could see father in person. The knight reached up to remove his helmet, but it didn't budge. He pulled harder, it held fast. He tried lifting his visor, but it was stuck too. He tugged and he pulled and he asked to Juliet to pull it out, but everything was stuck. The whole armor, the whole um, the visor here, everything, you couldn't lift it up. He had opened it regularly to eat and drink. He had lifted just that morning over a breakfast of scrambled eggs and pig. But at that night, when Christopher said, Dad, I want to see your face, he couldn't. And he said, we are all stuck in armor of a kind. After more months of searching in vain, the knight was quite discouraged. So he tried different ways. He went to different people around the village to use a hammer, to use a drill. Nothing will remove that armor from him. But someone recommended to meet Merlin, the magician. So now is the part when he's gonna meet Merlin. I've been looking for you, he said to the magician. I've been lost 4 months. Merlin said, all your life. The knight sniffed. I didn't come all this way to be insulted. Perhaps you have always taken the truth to be an insult, said Merlin. You are so afraid, said Merlin. Of course, that is why you put on the armor in the first place. And here I wanna uh, take a moment. I have created so many armors during my life, specifically a couple ones. And actually, now let me tell you, I recognize that I still have an armor now, and it's in my relationship with my mother, how I see her. Because I'm not seeing her, and I try and try, and I'm doing my work. I try to see her with my eyes as a 42 years old woman, but I'm seeing her as I'm a 7 year old. And the 7 year old saw my mom having issues with my father. Maybe I create a perspective of who my mother was. And up until now, I'm having that issue. And every time that she comes to me asking for help, I have this shield that I'm always asking, like, no, you be strong. And financially, I help her as much as I can, and sometimes emotionally or with, I do alternative healing with vitamins or giving her treatments with my magnets, my bioresonance machine now. But it feels uncomfortable. It feels like it triggers me immediately every time that she asks for help and that I see her that she is getting little, right? Well, Merlin continues said, past, present, and future are all one when you are connected to the source, replied Merlin. What is the source? Asked the knight. It is the mysterious invisible power that is the origin of all. You cannot continue living and thinking as you have in the past, said Merlin. That is how you got stuck in your steel prison in the first place. But how am I ever going to change all that? Asked the knight uneasily. It is not as difficult as it may seem, Merlin explained, leading the knight to a path. This was the path you followed to get into these woods to find Merlin. Path, path of truth. You will not have to travel alone, Merlin told him. So he gave him two companies, a squirrel and a pigeon. Rebecca, that is the pigeon, flew over from a nearby tree, and a squirrel was right there. So Merlin was suggesting to the knight to go to three different paths to find his true self. But the knight wasn't sure about this. As as they, like the squirrel, the pigeon, Merlin, and the knight um, walked toward the path, the magician took a golden key from his neck and gave it to the knight. This key will open the doors to three castles that will block your path. I know, cried the knight. There will be a princess inside each castle, and I will slay the dragon guarding her and rescue. Enough, Merlin broke in. There will be no princesses in any of these castles. Even if there were, you are in no shape just now to be rescuing anyone. You have to learn to save yourself first. And I love this statement. You need to learn to save yourself first. This is such a beautiful statement, right? Because we always postpone this. I'm in. Let me tell you something. I we are we are the only source that we have to show how much we love and how much our value, how much we deserve to live in this lifetime. If I don't take the time to work out, if I don't take the time to read a book, if I don't take the time to just be lazy, that's part is very hard for me. Life is not gonna send me this back, or any other person. The first castle is named silence, the second castle, knowledge, and the third, will and daring. Once you enter them, you will find your way out only after you have learned what you are there to learn. So, a squirrel and Rebecca, that pigeon, will come with him. So now he will move and go to the first castle. And the first castle is the castle of silence. And in the castle of silence is teaching you how noise doesn't allow you to grow. Noise doesn't allow you to understand who you are. And there is different type of noises. The noise that I when I get into my house and I need to turn on the TV, or for me, I love music and I love usually Latin music, right? Salsa or something. So sometimes I don't play it in my car purposely just to be quiet, to be in silence. The second castle is the castle of knowledge. And if we don't learn certain lessons in our life, and we don't learn because we haven't been exposed to those lessons, but sometimes we don't learn because we just don't want to. We are too stubborn. For this, later. That, later. I don't need that now. Actually, I don't need to learn this. It's like my daughter with multiplication. She wants to move up to fractions, but she doesn't know that multiplication table. And the other one is that will and daring. When someone book an appointment with me or someone book a retreat with me to go to the Amazon, the will that they have when they click that button is the beginning of their healing. Without will, I cannot see, for example, anyone who is not contacting me because they don't have the will. They need to have that sensation, right? That energy, like I want to make it different. So now, I'm gonna move you to these three parts of this castle. So he moved and he has different encounters with different people in these castles. In the silence one, in the knowledge one, and in the will and daring. But the most important part is that after completing every single castle, that he didn't understood how he was completing this, how he was living, how he was finding his way out the castles, because most of the healing doesn't come of us understanding every single step of our healing journey. It just comes from the soul, and that's when I do ancestral healing or family constellations. The movement comes from my soul, and my soul doesn't have a conscious mind. My soul just feels, right? It's pure energy. Anyway, every time that he was leaving the castles, every single castle, a part of his armor will start falling off. And he was like, how did this happen from one moment to another? Now, at one point, he wasn't even able to open his visor, so that bird, the Rebecca and Squirrel, they will need to feed him through the visor, through the holes. But then he started getting himself free, understanding a few things, understanding how his wife and his son were in a very hard position because he was leaving and sometimes he didn't leave money, and he didn't even know who they were anymore because they couldn't talk, they couldn't see him. And then understanding that he didn't need to be the star of the village to feel complete, right? Now I want to tell you something about what Rebecca said at one point. Rebecca is the pigeon, and Rebecca said, animals accept and humans expect. You will never hear a rabbit say, I expect the sun to come out this morning so I can go down to the lake and play. If the sun doesn't come out, it won't ruin the rabbit's whole day. He's happy just being a rabbit. And we always create an expectation that is not a necessity, but I create an expectation of what needs to happen to me to be more happy, or to be happy, or to be in peace, or to be more healthy. And if I ask some people and I say, like, do you love yourself exactly the way that you are? Most people will say yes, but I would prefer that my hair was straight. I would prefer that my nose was more pointy. I would prefer that the color of my skin was lighter. There is always a but, right? And for me, and I'm not doing any judgment here, it's very clear with women, especially with women, because they put the fake nails, and for them in the social standard, like, I need to color my nails so I look more pretty, because like this they are not pretty enough. Or I need to put makeup, or I don't know, the thing that I forgot the name, to straighten your hair. And actually, I used to do it when I was working in the Peruvian mining department back in 2010. From 2008, I think, up until my daughter was born, 2014. I was trying, well, before I got pregnant. I used to try to straighten my hair because my boss at that time, he told me, like, you never put on makeup and no one is going to take you seriously as a lawyer. And I remember telling that to my husband, and my husband saying, like, what? It's okay if you don't put on makeup. Well, I was never able. I couldn't wear makeup because I always forget, it gets itchy. I never like it. But I will repeat this again. We just should be just happy by the way that we are. And what about if I tell you that I'm a disaster? I'm a mess. I am a bad person. I am mean. I don't know how to cook. I don't know sports. What if I tell you that? Are you gonna judge me, or are you gonna say, like, "Oh, that's good that Alida is saying that because she's opening her heart," right? Um, we usually create that armor because the other person will think something bad about me. For example, my mom, that I'm very, in this aspect of the makeup, I'm very opposite about her. And I think that basically is because I didn't like it the way that she looked. When she comes and visit to Massachusetts, I say, like, okay, let's go to the bank. And she's like, hold on, I'm gonna put on my makeup. And I was like, Mom, but why are you doing it? And she's like, so I can look pretty. That's that's her shield, that's her armor, right? So I wanted to say this. At the end, he reconciles with his life. The armor reconciles with his wife and with his son. He got rid of the whole armor. And this is when he got to the castle of Will and Daring. There was a dragon, and the dragons was the dragon of fear and doubt. And at that point, he remembers that Merlin has said that self knowledge was the key to killing the dragon of fear and doubt. So when I have fear and doubt, and I have it like not quite often now, but I have my strategy, I pinch myself. But I'm at this point in my life that connected to medical circumstances, to physical symptoms, I think that I got it. And I don't wanna, I hope that you understand that this is coming from a point of view of, I'm not trying to be judgmental about the medical system, but I'm not trying also to think that I'm better than someone else. It's just like my knowledge, my self knowledge that I had since I was little, because my grandmother taught me so many things about herbs, um, allow me to feel confident and to read that I always say that to read the symptom or the symptoms and see what will be the best, and then I support myself with my magnets and the other things that I do. But I have doubts about my path, and I have it like at the end of the last year. Like, should I get a job from 9 to 5 and all the things? But then I have people or situations that tell me, no, that's not for you. First, because I wouldn't have time to do the things from my company in Peru and other things, but also because it's not my path. It's not my path. I'm here to do something else. Uh, we don't need to prove anything. When we understand that we don't need to prove anything, I can get rid of my armor. I don't need to prove you that I'm a good person. That's what I told you before. Like, what about if the worst person in the whole world? Do I need to prove that I'm good? No, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. And constantly we try to prove, right? Like different circumstances in life make you try to prove who you are, but that you are not, right? I don't know. You try to be more wealthy if you are surrounded by people that is very wealthy. To look like very fashionable if you are people that are in the fashion industry. To try be more holistic if you are people that they are very crunchy. To be more spiritual if you are with mediums. I don't know. We always try to prove something, and that weights us down because I cannot be present. I cannot enjoy it 100%. I cannot expand my energy because it's fake. So this book is very, very a short book. It's you can read it in 2 days. I recommend to you to read it. I always read like at least once a year, just to remind me that I need to take off this armor. And one of the biggest lessons of my 2024 is being that I don't need to prove. I don't need to prove that I'm the perfect lawyer. I need to prove that I am a tough boss with if someone is doing something bad in the company in Peru, because sometimes they steal things, not steal the employees, but other people from the community. I don't need to prove anything. Like, I just need to enjoy it. And when you enjoy, you don't need an armor. And when you see with compassion to others, you don't need an armor. I see with compassion to myself, I have made so many mistakes, but they were mistakes, but they were the biggest lessons that I have had to see, to go through, to be a better person now. Thank you for joining me. If you like this episode, please share it. You can go to my website. Now I'm having 50% off in any online or in person sessions. Uh, Please support me going to my Instagram, Ayamama Alida, to my YouTube channel, Ancestral Healing with Alida, or Ayamama Alida, or on my Facebook page. The more you spread the word about this content that I'm making, the better it's gonna be, because more people maybe might find some of these videos helpful, or even for me, right? Like to expand the word of what I think that I know. Um, it's good. So thank you for joining me, and have a beautiful 2025.